And we are live and we are recording.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, my name is Tracy Metzger and I'm chair of the IDA. I'd like to call this meeting to order today. It's about 12:16 p.m. As customary, our minutes of our previous meeting were distributed. Unless there's any questions or changes, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Susan, and then a second, please.
I can second, but in the second paragraph under compliance update, it looks like autocorrect got the best of them. It says exempt session twice instead of executive.
Thank you, Lee. Okay, all those in favor with that correction?
Aye.
So I would
Aye.
just, sorry, Chair, I would
Aye.
note that is the accurate language because it was for council advice during the session. We can go into an exclusive session for two reasons, either executive session or exempt session. If it's for advice of council, that is an exempt session under public meetings law. And I see Joe Scott has unmuted, so he can weigh in a little bit more if necessary. Executive session has very specific needs that you can go in, so that's why it does say exempt.
Look at that.
Thanks for the clarification. We learn something new every day.
It's a very technical point, and you'll impress people at the next cocktail party you attend. So, but that is
Impress might not be the right word.
Yeah. Thank you.
so noted.
We have the minutes approved. I think we'll just jump right into new business. We have a number of resolutions. The new resolutions, public hearing, obviously we vetted it at Finance Committee a couple of weeks ago, and then we have some primarily administrative resolutions in front of us. So I'm going to have Andy just give us a quick background synopsis on each resolution and then read the resolution for us. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Chair. 66 State Street involves a historic renovation of an approximate 41,650 square foot vacant building into 27 market rate apartments and approximately 10,000 square feet of first floor commercial space. The resolution in front of the board is authorizing the Chief Executive Officer of the City of Albany Industrial Development Agency to hold a public hearing regarding a proposed project to be undertaken for the benefit of 66 State Street Associates, LLC.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Susan. A second, please.
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Lloyd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. The next one, Andy, 61 North Pearl Street.
Sure. The project consists of the historic renovation of an approximate 40,000 square foot building into 15 market rate apartments and about 13,000 square feet of first floor commercial space. The resolution in front of the board is authorizing the Chief Executive Officer of the City of Albany Industrial Development Agency to hold a public hearing regarding a proposed project to be undertaken for the benefit of 61 North Pearl, LLC.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Susan, is that a second, Lee? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. The next is 413 North Pearl Street.
Thank you, Chair. This project consists of the historic renovation of an approximate 90,000 square foot warehouse into approximately 80 market rate residential apartment units and about 13,000 square feet of commercial space. The project was previously approved for sales tax exemptions and mortgage recording tax exemptions only in March of this year. The request at hand involves a $38,000 increase in the previously contemplated mortgage recording tax exemption. This is due to an unexpected temporary bridge of tax credits. The increase in assistance is less than $100,000 and, as per agency policy, does not necessitate a public hearing. The resolution in front of the board is amending a resolution entitled Resolution Authorizing Execution of Documents in connection with a leaseback transaction for a project for 413 North Pearl Associates LLC.
Thank you. Do I have a motion? Lee? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Is that
This is
Tony?
Anthony.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. All those in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution passes.
Chair,
Thank you.
can I note for the record that I'm abstaining on that vote?
Sure can, Bob. Thank you. Okay, next would be 39 Columbia Street.
This project involved the renovation of what was a 60,000 square foot vacant office building into 39 market rate apartments and 15,000 square feet of retail commercial space. The project received sales tax exemptions only and closed with the agency in April of 2020. The request at hand seeks consent to refinance. No additional agency assistance is being sought at this time.
Thank you. Are you going to read that resolution?
Yes, Chair, thanks. The resolution in front of the board is authorizing the execution and consent by the City of Albany Industrial Development Agency of certain refinancing loan documents and other related documents in connection with the 39 Columbia Street Associates project.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll move it.
Susan, a second, please. Lee, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Resolution passes. Next is 705 Broadway.
Thank you. This project was approved for sales tax exemptions, mortgage recording tax exemptions, and a real property tax exemption in June of 2019. This project received a one-year extension of the approving resolutions in June of 2020. The originally approved project at Quackenbush Square consisted of a 132-room, 8-story hotel, along with a 6-story mixed-use structure. Progress was paused due to the COVID-19 crisis and the effect it had on project financing. The request at hand is for an additional extension through June of 2022. No additional financial assistance is being sought from the agency at this time, and I will note that representatives of the project are here with us today if there are further questions.
Thank you. I thought the letter submitted was pretty clear in terms of why they're requesting this change and why it's necessary. So with that, unless there's any further discussion, could you read that resolution?
Absolutely. The resolution in front of the board is approving a second extension of the expiration date relating to the approving resolution adopted by the City of Albany Industrial Development Agency with respect to commercial project for FC 705 Broadway LLC and FC, just 705 Broadway Hotel LLC.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Was that Tony?
Darius.
Darius, thank you. And a second, please.
I'll second. It's Tony.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, resolution passes. Thank you.
Chair, can I also note my abstention on that vote too?
Sure, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you for your tenacity in trying to get this project completed. It's very important to our city and our downtown, of course.
Thanks for your continued support. Hopefully we've turned the corner and next time we meet, it's going to be with great news.
Here we go. Thank you again.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, with that, we'll move to 581 Livingston Avenue.
Sure. The property in question here consists of a 36,000 square foot, 50-unit apartment building designated for seniors. It closed with the agency in March of 2013. The request before the board involves a change in LLC ownership as a requirement of a refinancing. The in-fact ownership will remain the same. And again, representatives of the project are here to answer any questions. No additional benefits are being sought at this time.
Thank you, Andy. It's pretty simple request. It's going from a single entity, I believe, into an LLC. 100% of the ownership remains the same. So with that, if you could read that resolution, Andy?
Sure. The resolution is consenting to and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain documents with respect to the assignment and assumption of the 581 Livingston Avenue LLC project.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Darius. Second, please.
I'll second.
I just want to know, I just
Thank
want
you,
to
Lord.
reiterate kind of
Yes.
what you said, Tracy, that if this was an actual sale of the property to another entity or a change in ownership to a different ownership group, that's something that raises our antennas here at the IDA, so that people don't liquidate our companies don't liquidate their benefit from the tax abatements that we offer for liquidate that in the form of a sale. So the fact that this is not changing hands in actuality is what is gaining our approval.
Thank you, Darius. Okay, we've got a motion. We've got a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Resolution passes. And finally, 563 New Scotland Avenue.
Yes, this project involves the construction of a 188 residential market rate unit apartment over 4 buildings on 3.3 acres of land, totaling approximately 300,000 square feet, with parking for approximately 255 cars and ground floor retail space. The project was approved for sales tax exemptions, mortgage recording tax exemptions, and real property tax exemptions in January of 2020. A 6-month extension of the approving resolutions was approved in January of 2021, which expires this coming July. The applicant is requesting an additional 6-month extension through January of 2022. No additional financial assistance is being sought at this time, and representatives of the project are here with us today to answer any further questions.
So that 6-month extension runs through, did you say January 22?
Correct. From July 16th through, I believe, January 16th of 2022.
Okay. Well, I'm sure hoping this is the last extension. It's an important project for that neighborhood. You want to read that resolution, Andy?
Absolutely. The resolution in front of the board is approving a second extension of the expiration date relating to the approving resolution adopted by the City of Albany Industrial Development Agency with respect to a commercial project for 563 New Scotland Avenue LLC.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. A second, please.
I'll second. It's
Thank you,
Anthony.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Resolution passes. Thank you to all the applicants that are here today. Okay, with that, we'll move back up to the chief financial report. Mark, please.
Thanks, Chair. So in the month of May, the revenue was we received some application fees and interest income. On the expense side, it was either approved in a 2021 budget or approved after by the board. With that, we have projected ending cash at the end of the year at this point to be approximately 2.9, just shy of $3 million.
Was that someone speaking?
No, but I have a quick question. Does this include the funding that went for the COVID relief projects? Is that going out as the projects are asking for their funding that
Yep.
be recouped? So
As you can see, Susan, there's a line called SBAP grant awards on the expense side. And those are all the grants that have gone out the door so far. And and that the checks have cashed.
Okay, great. So we can expect those to continue for the next, how long? What's the end date for recouping those funds?
I believe
That
that
is, we'll cover some of that in the agency update. And we've got
Okay.
2 updates there, an SBAP update and a legislative update for that. We can get into that in a second.
Perfect.
Well, Mark, you'll be making the change to the fee for New Scotland Village then that you've got scheduled for July.
Yep, I can make that change.
You'll be pushing that out. Yeah.
Yep, and then any other approvals today will show up in the projected line of in the next month's financial statement.
Great, thank you. Okay, with that, Sarah, agency update?
Sure, and I think what we'll start with, we do have a project update that I believe either Virginia or Andy are going to run us through on Sandage Way. We'll start there, and then we have a couple of additional updates beyond that. So hand it over. I think you guys have the controls. Perfect, thanks, Virginia.
Good afternoon, board. So today we'll have an update on the landmark Albany. A quick project recap. The project is located at 100 Sandridge Way. The project was approved by the IDA November 2018. The total investment for this project will be $51 million. The approved benefits include sales and use tax and mortgage recording tax and real property exemptions. This property will consist of the construction of 7 new buildings. The 7 buildings will contain 252 residential apartment units, a clubhouse, office portion of 1 building, common areas, and parking for 343 cars. The employment impact includes 165 construction jobs and 7 FTE jobs.
Now, is this the one with the post office?
No, this is up on, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, Tracy.
I'm gonna say it's up on Fuller Road by,
Nanotech in New Albany.
Nanotech. Geez, I just drew a
Okay.
blank.
All right.
Across from the cemetery.
I don't think that's in their marketing materials.
Very quiet neighbors.
So here
Sorry,
we have
Virginia, go ahead.
No worries. So here we have some interior photos. We have of the bedroom here, and then the common space. Here we have in unit, sorry about that. I shared a previous version.
So to give Virginia a second, as she's looking for it, what's interesting, as you see the photos, you will get a chance to see the units and the development in real life coming up here shortly. They are attempting to schedule a ribbon cutting here within the next couple of weeks, and we'll have an invite around to the group to be able to go. Now that restrictions are lifted, I don't think that the capacity will be limited on that. You'll be able to see the units in person as well.
Excellent.
Sorry about that. So the amenities include in-unit laundry, a fitness center, as well as electric car charging. And then project highlights, again, 7 total buildings. So far, 2 are completed, 5 are under construction. Currently, 96 of the 252 units are rented, 49 units are occupied, and 47 move-ins are scheduled.
It's great news.
So like I said, we'll be hearing more about it in upcoming weeks. Hearing from the development team, as Virginia said, interest continues to be strong as they move forward, particularly as we enter into next year's school year too for the grad students at both SUNY Poly and UAlbany, as well as the new crop of faculty at each. We'll have a fantastic amenity walkable right to both of those major employment and education centers. Okay, so, oh, sorry, go ahead, Dave.
So that actually was going to be my question. I know the numbers are good. Do we have an idea of what kind of occupants they're getting right now? Is that something that Virginia was let know, or did we just get the numbers?
So we were able to just get the numbers, but I can follow up with the project developer and kind of get a profile of the current tenants.
Just curious, because I'm wondering if it is going to be students coming back, or if it is, like Sarah was saying, is it going to be faculty, or is it just, general people in Albany looking for new apartments? Thank you.
We can get a better sense of that. Okay. On to more agency updates. I do want to, unless I missed it at the top of the meeting, I want to introduce Rob McGee, who I'm delighted to see on this call, but many of you may not know he is an outstanding attorney in Corp Counsel's office, and I imagine he's here today representing Corp Counsel on our behalf.
Yes, that's right. Maria's out of town, so I'm covering for her.
Just want to make
Thank
sure
you for the introduction. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Perfect. Great. Okay. So on to a few other pieces. I do want to touch on the legislation that was passed during the legislative session this past year. I had sent an email around with a breakdown of the bills that have passed both the House and the Senate that impact industrial development agencies in particular. You can see that there were 6 bills passed this year. Again, they are not enacted into law until the governor either signs them or lets them age into law. There is the opportunity for those bills to be vetoed too, potentially. So this is not baked in stone yet, but this is a pretty good idea of where these different bills shook out this year. You've got the summary in front of you, and I know we're a little while in. So do you have any questions specifically, Chair? How would you like to handle that? Do you want to just take questions, or?
Sure. I mean, perhaps there's a couple that are concerning that you might want to highlight.
Sure. Some of the more concerning bills for session did not actually pass. So there were a couple of pieces of legislation that would have had what I think would have been unintended consequences on the Industrial Development Agency's operations or on development statewide. Didn't necessarily make it through session. So we have a number of bills though. Sorry, did I miss? No, I looked away from the screen. We did have a number of bills again that are going to be impactful to IDAs statewide. A couple to highlight, there was a change to the 485A program that was made that requires, it redefines a commercial use and has a 5-job minimum on any commercial use in the building. So some of our smaller projects that have been able to use that 485A program in the past, we may see some of those wanting to come through the Industrial Development Agency, and particularly if they're smaller. There's a tipping point where small projects, it doesn't necessarily make financial sense for them to come through the IDA. The 485A program was really the right tool for those. So we're going to assess really what we think that is, how that's going to impact projects that we wouldn't necessarily have seen as an agency, and identify whether or not we need to change, to propose some changes to our IDA policies regarding it. I'd also note that there was a bill that wasn't expected to pass that did make it through, that establishes the need for agency fees or IDA fees to be the same in municipal IDAs as they are in their sort of overarching county. And so that was a new one to be looking at. We're looking at that now. Albany County, my understanding is that their fee structure does mirror ours, but there is the possibility, and we have to clarify whether or not the agency fee is actually the same, or whether that's going to have financial impacts on the agency. Ours is currently at 1%. It's possible that the county's is at 0.75, so that would have financial ramifications going forward if that's the case. So we're going to confirm that and also talk with the county to understand. What I'll say about that, Bill, is that there aren't a lot of specifics in it in terms of defining IDA fees. So, there's not necessarily clarity on whether that's the application fee, the agency fee, closing fees and legal costs, any third-party analysis. It doesn't really define, it doesn't go into that level of detail. So are we talking that all of those need to be exactly the same? Again, probably more ramifications in other regions, not necessarily in our county, because we do operate so similarly to the Albany County IDA. But we're taking a look at that, and we're going to be talking with the EDC to understand if there are going to be impacts here and if there's an ability to clarify some of that language.
Great. So we'll see that as an agenda item in the future,
I imagine.
Yeah.
Did you say, Sarah, the counties is 0.175?
0.75 according to the website. I have to confirm that. We're going to do some more analysis on that. But if that's the case, it would have ramifications here. Again, that's not enacted yet. It gives us a little bit of time to understand and have some conversations surrounding it.
So better than 0.175.
Yes.
Yes. So would it be the lower of the two fees in theory?
It would be whatever the county establishes. So it's requiring that municipalities follow the county structure.
I see, they're in the lead. Okay, fair enough.
But we could discuss this with them, right? That they
absolutely discuss. Great. So we'll get some more clarity there. The others on the list don't necessarily have direct impact. You'll see that the bill that was talking about elected officials serving on the IDA, the language had been amended. It just prohibits elected officials from being compensated by the Industrial Development Agency. So less of an impact there than could have been previously. But I think that that really talks through what is directly impactful here, or maybe potentially will be back to you, as Tracy mentioned, with agenda items on any actions that need to be taken or further clarification once we have it.
Yeah, and Sarah, if I may just add a couple of points. I think
Sure.
what was interesting, and Sarah touched on this, is that the bills that actually weren't adopted, I think, is the bigger story. There were a couple of pieces of legislation potentially that, if they had gone through, would have had some impacts on the IDA operations, and they didn't go forward. I found that to be interesting. There's a couple of examples, and the dust is still settling, so we're still analyzing all of that. And the only other point I'll make, and it's kind of a piece of legislation that came in from out of left field. There was a piece of legislation introduced by one of the state legislators down in the southern part of the state as an effort to assist city school districts and allowing city school districts to do their projects through an industrial development agency. And that's because city school districts have a very odd way under the New York State's Constitution about how their constitutional debt limit is computed. And they're at a disadvantage under that computation with respect to or compared to common or central school districts. Central school districts have a very expansive way that their constitutional debt limit is computed, and accordingly, it's very unusual for them to have any financial constraints on the issuance of their debt. City school districts are frankly hamstrung in many instances, and we represent a number of city school districts that have to go through a special process in order to, and an extra vote in order to get their capital projects through. It was just interesting, and I only bring it up to you because oftentimes the focus over the last 5 years, 7 years has been, constraining IDA activity. And here was a situation where a legislator was actually asking for an expansion of IDA powers to address an issue that frankly could have been addressed through a constitutional amendment, which requires two consecutive House votes, in successive terms. So it is somewhat procedurally difficult, but I just found it ironic, and particularly at the risk of characterizing the legislator that introduced the act, that legislator typically is on the restrictive side of the ledger. So it was just kind of interesting. But again, I think the headline here, if you want to take the major takeaway, is there were some pieces of legislation that would have impacted you, as Sarah indicated, but they didn't get enacted.
Thanks for shedding some light on that, Joe.
I'd follow up with that too, to Joe's point on really trying to understand where a number of legislators statewide have been looking in a more restrictive fashion in IDAs. The agency is a member of the Economic Development Council for New York State, and I do want to put in a plug for that group that is currently undertaking an initiative with Camoin to really study IDAs statewide, their broader economic impacts, their compliance with ABO and OSC review, as well as just trying to better quantify, similar to how this agency has taken a look at the performance, the project evaluation and assistance framework, better quantify the other benefits that projects bring beyond jobs and investment, historic rehabilitation, neighborhood revitalization, affordable housing, you name it, IDAs across the state are involved in those projects. So we should be seeing results of that study within the next several months, and we'll circulate that around to the board members as well as we have drafts of it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Two other things before we move into compliance. One, I just want to update the group that we did receive a FOIL request regarding the application for 413 North Pearl Street. So we're complying with that and moving that through the process. We don't have a lot of insight as to that, but it is for the application documents related to that. And we're replying in order. And then finally on to the small business adaptation program, just some updates there following Susan's questions during the financial report. We are about 2 weeks out from when all of our projects are supposed to have completed their applied for programs and projects. And so we're working through compliance with all of the applicants to ensure that they have the appropriate documentation in order, that we're being helpful, and Virginia and Nora are really working directly with each of those applicants to make that happen. As we have a better understanding of who's in the clear and who needs a little bit of additional technical assistance over the next 2 weeks, we'll be in good order to bring a full report on the SBAC program back to the board at the July meeting. So we'll be able to walk through the outstanding contracts, if there are any, as well as who's completed to date. The applicants, the awardees, do have through October of this year to draw down their funds and move forward. We were originally required to have completed and completely wrapped up that program by the end of this year. And so as you can see in the financial report, we have a number of folks that have drawn their funds down already, but the bulk of the funding is still out there, and it's not delinquent. It's that they have another several months to submit all of the documentation needed to allow for a drawdown of those reimbursement funds. So we'll get you a detailed update. We'll show you the spreadsheet of sort of where we are for the July meeting.
Wonderful.
Sarah, can you repeat again the amount that was allocated and the amount that has been reimbursed to date?
I don't know those numbers off the top of my head, but I wonder if someone else on the call may. Otherwise, I can get back to you with that, and we'll certainly walk you through all of that at the July meeting again. It'll be in the, what was it, September board packet from last year. It's up on the website as well, but we'll get you those numbers and bring it all again and walk you through it, refresh everybody at the July meeting.
Hi, Sarah. I'm going to try and pull those up right now. If you give me one moment.
I think while you're pulling them up, we might be able to move on to the compliance update. And then if you've got them at the end of that, we can jump back in with them. Fantastic.
That'd be great, Sarah. Yeah.
And I do have the total number up, if that's helpful.
Oh, great.
Oh, thanks, Tom.
So the total award that was in the resolution was for $114,983.
And so it looks like we have about 10% of that drawn down to date, which is not abnormal, again, because they have through the fall to be able to pull those funds down.
Great, thank you. And those will go out monthly and be reported in our monthly reports under expenses.
They go out as they come in and are approved. So, you know, we get those businesses the funds as quickly as possible out the door, but you'll see them in the monthly financial report.
Great. And are the businesses doing okay with their compliance? And are the forms that the requests for reimbursements that are coming in fairly complete? And I know we tried really hard to make these fairly simplistic, so we weren't costing the businesses a lot of extra paperwork and stress at an already stressful time. And I know you guys have worked really hard with them to get them through that, but are we finding that has worked out?
It is a mixed bag, as it always is with small businesses, because there are requirements that they have to abide by, you know, based on the legislation. And then certainly on the community development block grant side for the more flexible portions of the program, there is, you know, documentation that's absolutely necessary. You know, what we want to avoid is being in a situation where those programs are audited and then we have to go back out and recapture funds from small businesses that have already been hurt. So we want to make sure that everything is compliant. And again, Virginia and Nora are working directly with them to ensure that, you know, we don't end up in that situation. So folks that need more assistance, more technical assistance, more help are getting it. Throughout, we do have, you know, a full, you know, control system in place within our team too, to be able to review each of those submissions for compliance to make sure that it's all there. But it's why it's so important that, you know, when somebody turns in a shoebox full of receipts without having it organized, you know, it's time intensive on the team to be working through those receipts, getting them scanned in, getting the eligible items highlighted, making sure that it ties back. So, you know, as we're trying to keep as much of the burden on, unfortunately, sorry guys, on our staff as possible versus on the small businesses, but the small businesses do have, you know, they've got requirements as well that they have to come in with.
Are the bids able to help at all?
I think they've been helpful in pointing people to available resources, being able to be an assistance as possible, and they've certainly offered that. What we're finding is having, you know, sort of the one point person that has worked them all the way through the application process through drawdown has really been helpful. But it's intensive and time intensive and energy intensive too, because these small businesses have been significantly impacted over the past year and a half.
Thank you.
Okay. I think with that, we can move into compliance update.
Thank you. Back in March, staff had noted that we would close the loop on a few outstanding documents related to our annual compliance. Since then, those outstanding documents and numbers have come in and been reviewed. And I'm just going to go over just 3 of them real quick. At Hudson Park was able to get their jobs reporting in. They had some difficulty based on a change in property management. They are reporting 2 of their 2 required jobs. 39 Columbia Street was just with us here today. They reported well in excess of what their application had projected, about 150 full-time employees higher. Their tenant that was the bulk of those jobs number is Belvedere Home Services. And they had just had some difficulty in working with Belvedere to really decipher with their remote structure how many full-time employees were actually employed and on site at any given time. And the last of which is 351 Diamond Development. That is the large retail and commercial development on Southern Boulevard. They were able to report jobs, 24 jobs. They had initially committed to 150. There's obviously been some changes with expected tenants on site. And as we move forward, we expect to work in conjunction with them and the ABO to kind of get a more realistic jobs level based on current uses on site and also the projected future uses on site. But we do have all our outstanding documents in that we expect to get in.
Thank you. You know, on Diamond Development, that's going to be a successful project. And, you know,
Absolutely.
of course, COVID delayed the retail occupancy. So I expect those numbers to, you know, to climb up to the levels that they had projected. On Belvedere, back on Columbia, those are retained jobs for right? For that project?
Correct. With Belvedere in place. So there was a much higher increase in the amount of jobs represented by Belvedere than initially thought at application time.
Yes, thank you. Anything else? Sarah, Andy, Tom?
That's it.
Board? Okay, thanks to you all. Have a great day. It's beautiful out there.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay,
Bye, guys. Thank you.
thank you.